go. Today's 2-7 isometric and orthographic drawings, and we actually spend today and then a couple more days on this. We do the big block challenge next week. Big block challenge, pretty fun. So, it's the big block challenge. That's why we call it the big block challenge. Okay, so we're going to go through these notes here as a class. I'll give you a chance to get the learning goals down and the title down, and then we'll start working through. So here we go. We're going to, with an isometric and orthographic drawings, those are two different types of drawings. And these drawings help us to see different views of something that we're building. So it might be used in engineering or architecture. How many of you are doing robotics or principles of engineering? So I'm assuming you're using this in there, correct? You guys dealt with orthographic and isometric?
Well, in Linus's class last year we did.
Okay, so in GTE? Yeah, or GTT? What was it, GTT or GTE?
Like 2 T's.
Okay, so GTT. So you use this a lot when you're dealing with, if you're going to design something and build it. Okay, so we're going to just do the basics. It can be really fun. Most students tend to enjoy it. So isometric drawings show anyone know? Based on isometric, yeah? It shows a corner view. Good. Isometric drawings show a corner view. Now, Julian, the reason those are back in our bag right now is so that we don't get distracted like that. Yes. There are rules. All right. Foundational drawings show the blank of the structure and the blank of each part. Well, it shows the base of the structure. Now, some people like to think of that base. They tend to say, well, doesn't that just show the top part of it? Well, it does, if you want to think of it that way. It makes it a little easier to see. So you could say it kind of shows the top of it. It shows an aerial view. So that's another way of thinking of it. And you'll make your own decision once we start building them. But anyway, it shows the aerial view or the base of the structure and the height of each part. So we have isometric, we have foundational, which we don't have up here, but that's another drawing we'll do. It's the easiest of them. And then we have the orthographic drawings. The orthographic show, anyone know? Cameron?
Top, front, and side.
It shows the top, front, and side view. Top, front, and side views. All right? As well as the worksheet that you picked up. All right? Give you a chance to copy that down. Assignment, example 1, number 1. Now your paper doesn't look like this. What I've done is I've grabbed that item and I've put it on some iso and ortho paper just so it's easier to present with. But you have that. You have iso and ortho paper. Example 1 says create an isometric drawing of each structure. Now remember, the isometric drawing is that corner view. In the isometric drawing, you want to be able to see the corner being the closest to you, but you also want to be able to see the right side and the front side. And some will go, well, that's the right, then isn't that the left? Well, we call that the front, and we call the right, the side that jets off this point, the right side. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just redraw this shape in a pure isometric view versus having lines when you're doing these shapes. A line means a change in depth, okay? Which in this shape we don't have a change in depth, all right? So to make this a little easier, and this one might be very easy for some of you maybe not, okay? But to make this a little easier, what I need you to do right now is I need you to take out a clean sheet of paper, and on one part of it, I need you to label, in one corner I need you to label front, and on the other side of the corner I need you to label right. Okay? That's going to help some of you out a lot here. And then I want you to build that shape with your blocks. If you're a bit confused on what I'm asking, you have front, you have right, you have a corner. This corner right here represents that corner right there. Okay, so if I'm building my shape, I want to make sure that on the front side, notice on the front side I have 2 deep, so I should have 2 deep here. And then on the right side I have 1 deep, so I'm going to have 1 deep here. And then I'm going to build it upward. Okay, so the goal when I'm done building this shape, is that I could take and twist this shape like so, and if I were to bring, now here's the problem here. Will you hold this just like this? Because as soon as I change this camera so that other people can be seen in class, everyone's like, oh my God, there I am, I'm on camera. And we don't want that. All right. So there. All right. So see that? Right there. There's our shape. All right. Huh? All right. Thank you.
So we get to look at Emma.
Everyone good on that? Yeah?
I'm sorry.
No?
Yes.
All right. So now you have your shape. Okay? The goal will be for us to use that shape. It's kind of your model now. So since it's on a separate sheet of paper, if you've done what I've asked, you're able to turn it around and move it. And for some of you, once again, some of you will be going, I don't need to do that. I am amazing, McCoy. Just ask me about it, and I will tell you how good at this I am. And that's okay. But it's going to be more complex, and it's going to get more complex. So later on, you may want to build it like that. All right? So for what we're doing right now, there is our shape. We're going to take and duplicate this corner of isometry right here. So notice this little corner that I have. I keep drawing. I'm going to take and I'm going to put a point down here somewhere. That point represents this point. Okay, so everyone's with me now. And from there, I'm going to go there, there, and there. That is the corner of isometry. That is going to be the middle or the corner of my shape. So right here. So if I erase this chunk right there, I have traced this little corner. And that's how I'm going to start almost all of my isometric drawings. So from there, I'm going to label right just with an R, and I'm going to label front with an F, so I know which sides I'm dealing with. And then from there, students approach this in different ways. Some students like to be constructivists. Some like to be constructivists that destruct the shape. They kind of chisel out the shape. I like to construct it. So the way I do it is I look at this and I go, well, I have there. I have to go over 1 on the right, and that puts me right there. So that point and that point are the same. And sometimes I use little circles and little dots and little letters and stuff to represent that. Usually shapes, that way I'm not using other letters. Okay, and then from that little circle I go up 1. So here I go up 1. Okay, and then on the front side I go back 2. So I'm going to drop back 2, and that brings me to this point right here. If I marked it with an X, that would represent the same point. And from that point I'm going to go up how far? 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So notice these are vertical lines. All these lines I've just drawn in, 1, 2, and 3, these vertical lines, they're parallel. And they should be parallel when you're redrawing your shape. Now my front view, it helps a lot of students. From teaching this, I've seen many students do this. They're like, okay, this, if I were to just cut out the front of this shape, it would make a big L. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that big L on my paper because that helps me to see the front of that shape. Make sure you're using pencil. That way if you get an errant line like I did there, you can erase. So there's my L, that same L. I have it. Okay. And then from the corner of that L, I'm going to jettison over. And that gave me the front of this box here. Okay, so if I make stripes or something to show the front of the box, that would be that right there. Are we on the wrong side?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Make sure you're on the right side of the paper.
Oh, big side.
Yeah, some of you are on the wrong side.
I erased it like 5 times.
I know,
Yeah.
it won't work. It's too big.
You got to be on the side with the correct dot. So I'm going to pause real quick and make sure you're on the correct side. Yes, major blunder on my part if I'm not making sure you're on the correct side. Isometric dot paper are the kind of offset dots, whereas orthographic dot paper is just your standard dot.
That's how it was.
Okay, so notice how these are kind of at a slant or diagonal, if you'd like to think, or offset. These aren't. So you want to be on isometric. Okay, how many are with me right now? So I know we're ready to move. Okay, so I keep going. I'm going to make this piece right here. So sometimes it's helpful just to trace as you go. And then from there, so if you think of this as kind of a big solid dot, that's where I'm at. From there I go up a level of 2, and you can kind of see your shape start forming then. Oops. So there, we have our top piece, and I'm missing one line. Chase?
It's right at where the 2 bottom blocks, like when it starts to right there.
Right there, yeah. Because it's a turn, it's a change in depth. So if I was looking down on this shape, that's a change in depth. This is tall, and all of a sudden I hit a platform, so at every platform. Notice in their original shape, they had all these marks where the blocks would be, just like you would if you looked at your figure. In our isometric drawing, we do not put all those lines. The only time we put a line is if it's a change in depth. Okay? All right. How do you think you got it? Okay, let's talk. It does not say to do an orthographic view of it, but we're going to do an orthographic view. This is when you use the other side of the paper. So this side. Okay, so let's do an orthographic. It doesn't tell us to, but we're going to. Now the book will show you a different way of doing these. I like you to do your orthographic views the way I would expect to see in a engineering class or a course where they're teaching mechanical drawing or something like that, where you actually list your front side, and then you draw the front of your shape. Now, just before we begin this, you're going to have room above for your top view. I usually don't label them ahead of time, but I'm going to in this case so you can see. My front, my top, and on the right-hand side, you're going to have your right view. So you always put front, right, top. Now some classes, they'll make you actually do more views than that. We're not doing it. We're doing front, right, and top. And we put the front here, we put the top right above the front, and we put the right just to the right of the front. Our textbook shows them all in a straight line. So if you're looking at our book, they show front, right, top, or they put them all in a straight line. And I don't like that because it doesn't lend itself to checking your work really well. So in the front view, I'm going to erase some of this stuff I had. Okay? Actually, I'll use this picture. In the front view, remember, we've kind of already shaded that once. We see this L. So the front view is a two-dimensional view of what you see here. So we would see an L. It's a 2 by 3. Okay, so on this I'd have the beginning, which is this dot right here, and I have that length of 2 along the side out to that X. So some students, it helps to have these little points to help out from dot to X. And then from there I go up a length of 3. That length of 3 would bring me up to, I don't know if you want to put a, what should we put there? A little sunshine or something. Usually don't. usually won't have to do this for too long, but you know, you have different emblems that will help you out there. Okay, and then you continue and draw your L shape. And then important, if you're using those little symbols, make sure when you're done you erase them, because they aren't really part of your drawing. Okay. All right, so you have your L. On your right hand side, notice my right side, if I look at it, I would see this. If I was standing in front of this shape, this is, by the way, where your this piece comes into play. If you have your little your shape, you would be able to turn your shape and look at it from the right hand side. Okay, so once again, I will try to do this without showing everyone in class. There. Okay, so there is my right view. It just looks like a long tower, or a tall tower there. You really wouldn't see that change in depth, really. Everyone see that? Okay, so in a right view, in our right view, we're just seeing a tall, kind of skinny shape that's how tall? 3 tall. So we see this side and we also see this side. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over from right here. Now, I'm going to go over directly over. I might move my word right over because I don't need quite as much room as I gave myself. But notice how I put dashed lines. That dot right there is the same dot I'm starting with my right view. And it goes back 1 to kind of that open circle right there. And then we know that's 3 tall. Now you'll notice, remember I said you want, the reason I like doing it this way is that I have a check. Well look, if I go over here, every time I have a horizontal line, I should have a horizontal line over here. So I'm missing 1 horizontal line between my front and right. How many see where it's at? Okay, should be right here. Okay, and that shows a change in depth. That's this change in depth right here. It's a little platform. Okay, now you're with me. All right, now we're going to do the top view. Now the top view is a little easier to see if my tower hadn't fallen down. So it went timber, but there we go. There is my top view. You guys also saw my bling there for a second. There we go. Pretty amazing, right? Let's see if the light helps. Yeah, kind of cool. You can kind of see the change in depth, but it's just looks like a 2x1, right? So if I'm dealing with my top view, move that. This, top, I'm going to erase the words top, but I'm going to go right above here. And the top view actually, the way I showed it here, we should be looking at it from the front angle. So it should look more like that. So that was my fault, originally pulling it in there. I know, frustrated Rory there. Golly, man. Get it right. Okay, there we go. So if I'm dealing with the front or the top view, notice it's from the front side. Once again, oh, can't see it. Thank you. There we go. Okay, once again, I'm going to move upward from here and start my point. And I should see on the top, I should see just these white pieces that are left. So there's 1 by 2. And you'll notice my quick check, all my vertical lines now should go upward. So there should be a vertical line there. And there's a vertical line there. Okay? And then I've even seen this. Now we don't have to show this, but you're right, this should actually pull its way over like this. Everyone see that? Now all these little dashed lines, those are just my checks. Those aren't part of your drawing, obviously, but they're your checks. All right, how many think they got it? We spent a lot of time on that one problem. I wouldn't expect our problems to take that long, but I really wanted to give good instruction on it. Okay, any questions on it? All right, I want to try number 2. I want everyone to create an isometric and an orthographic drawing for number 2. Work together, ask questions as I'm walking around. Okay, so there's number 2. Okay, we've got our shape. Notice how Bethany here, she's made sure that those extra lines are erased in there. You got to think of it as like if you're painting a wall. If it's the same wall, you shouldn't have any lines. So here, you paint that, but then you have to paint this wall here. They're different, so that's really good. Okay, in terms of our view, our orthographic view of it, got it right there. So our front view, okay, so this is front, this is right, our front, our right, and then our top view, the good checks there, well done there, Carson. Okay, guys, I think it's really important to do your front, right, and top that way to help you out. All right, real quick, any questions? All right, most of you are doing pretty well. I want you to draw a foundational drawing for number 4. Create a foundational drawing for that isometric. So Zach brought up a good point. He's like, I don't think you showed us that. And you're right, I haven't shown it, but we have defined foundation. Foundation is the aerial view that shows the depth. So if I'm looking at an aerial view of this, which view that we've already drawn are we using? Logan? Yeah, you're using the top view. So really a foundational, you're just going to draw what your top view would be. So remember, our top has a front on the front side and a right on the right side. Okay, so when I'm looking at this shade, I'm really kind of twisting it, right? So that the front's directly in front of me versus the corner. So this really would just be a 2x2 square. Okay, so when I'm drawing a foundation, I'm drawing the top view. So there's my top view. Now, the difference is on a foundation, you want to put, go ahead. Good, you want to put the number of each block in each little column there, which means you want to split this up into every part that it has. Depth, we don't show depth in terms of lines on this. We show it in terms of numbers. So notice that each one of these, this is too high. This back here is too high. Back here is too high, and back here is too high. So each one of these would have a 2 in it. It shows the depth at every square area there. That's a foundation view. Not a lot to it, but it does show depth from looking at it at the top. A good point. Any questions there? All right. Let's challenge ourselves a little more. I want you to draw a foundation view for number 5 there. All right, so we have the front and the right. Okay. Should end up looking like that. That's our top view. Now when I break it apart, I have, this is 3, 3, 2, and 2. So if it helps, label front, label right. On the right side, you have the 2s. On the front, you have the 3s coming towards the front. Okay? Questions? All right. Next one I want to try is this guy right here. Create an isometric drawing for each of the foundational plans. So it helps if you can actually build this. So using your blocks, build that. Okay, so if I'm building this, it's helpful, I guess, if I twist my paper like so, which means it'd be really helpful if I tear these off so that I can actually make it work under the camera. All right, our front and right. So in the corner I have a depth of 1, then a depth of 2 on each side. And in the very back I also have that depth of 2. So I'm just kind of building as we go there. So How many have a shape that look like that? Good. So kind of from a view. All right. So now it's helpful if you take a look at it from the front view. You're able to kind of tilt it down again, and hey, there's my front view of it. Okay, you're able to twist it around and see the right view, and that'll help you draw your shape. Okay. How many think you got it? There's one last thing I want to look at here, and you guys can check out blocks from me tonight for those of you that might think you need them. Okay. You may need to split them with your partner or something, but I might have some baggies if we need to do that. This is the last one here. Create an orthographic view. And now the problem with this one, when you're dealing with an orthographic, and I'm trying to draw a front view and a right view, usually the front view for this, I'm just going to sketch it out really quick. There's my, let me draw it a little lower so we have time here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, and then over 2, and then you have that slant. The front view is usually not the problem. Okay? It usually becomes the right view where students are like, what? How do I show that little slant? Well, really, remember our quick checks. For those of you that were following along, like I said, your right side has a 3. It has a length of 3 here, so there. And then it goes up 2, and up 2. That's there and there. And then we know that this horizontal line has to show that there. So how do we show this little piece right there? Well, this is also considered just a straight line. How many of you have a slope on your roof at home? When you stand, if you were able to stand level and just look at the roof, this from a two-dimensional point, it just looks like a rectangle, just like this. Now it could be the side view of your house. Everyone see what I'm saying? Okay. And then the top view, again, you go up, and you would have your 3 by 2. What's that? Your assignment today.